supposed to feel.
The engines roar
in the background. The sun begins to set, the green flag flies, and we are racing here in very, very sketchy indeed contact, and there goes Valentin barriers. Oh, the leader's lost it. Not Ada loses it into the gravel at the final corner, loses the lead. That's an amazing bit of work there from Luke Addison.
The inside, we have three abreast heading into Brual.
It's been lights to flag victory for George Boothby. He's done everything that's been required. It's looked so bloody easy yet again. Ciao a tutti, good evening everybody, welcome to the virtual recreation of Italy here tonight for yet another round. We are into the second half of Season 3 of the Genisus Risk Kaizen Championship. This is round 7 from the beautiful Misano circuit. My name is David Christie and it's my pleasure to welcome you all on here tonight. We are already towards the business end of the championship. You can see there round 7 we're off to Donington, then Monza, then Spa, then Watkins Glen and the Nordschleife towards the end of the season. But with the first half out the way, again the first thing I've got to do is say a very good evening to the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Joe Peake, joining me here in the commentary box. Joe, the second half of the season, and this is now where everything counts. This is now for all the marbles.
Yep, you've set things up in the first half, and now you have to follow through with it, which is honestly easier said than done. But if you've established good habits out on the track, then honestly, you just need to take it as business as usual, unless you're in a close fight, in which case you may have to step it up a notch to make sure that you finish ahead of your rivals.
Certainly, and with a big swathe of races still to come, the likes of Spa and that season finale at the Nordschleife, that is going to be an absolute game changer come the end of the season. But let's have a quick look at what is at stake this season as well here at the Genisus Risk Kaizen Championship. The Genisus Risk Kaizen Championship has a prize pool of $1,250. That's distributed across the top 5 teams, the top 5 drivers rather. 530 going to the winner with a 3-month Coach Dave Delta sub and IMB gloves. Now, a huge thank you to our partners at Coach Dave Delta and to IMB Racewear for those amazing additions to the prize pool here, and obviously Genisus Risk with the huge backing behind that as well. And again, a lot to play for here, and we've gone quite a far away, Joe, where this championship was seen as just a nice little warm-up to LFM Pro, which happens on a Thursday night, to its own individual championship where, a lot of these teams, a lot of these drivers really put in a concerted effort in it.
And we've seen that from the qualifying times quite frequently. I mean, you consider how many times we've said, it's 20, 25 drivers all within a second, sometimes even more than that, all extremely close over long lap times. So yeah, everybody is basically upped their game and is putting 100% into this.
It certainly is. On the YouTube chat as well, the chat giveaway tonight to win a $10 Steam voucher. Simply type in the word Italy in the chat for your chance to be in with that as well. I am going to have to call somebody out already, Mr. Christian Fenter. We baguette, mate. You've got kind of the wrong country on that one. I'm not sure if you meant that. I hope honestly that you get it a little bit better. You do remember that it's Misano we're at tonight, yeah? It's not Circuit de la Sarthe or any other sim. So hopefully he gets his bearings. But in the meantime, let's go and check what happened last time out as we hit the halfway point. That's Enkel then on the front row of the grid alongside Amadeo Casarino pipping him at the last moment in qualifying. Grantas Caracas will start on row 2 alongside Philippe Minard. On row 3 it's going to be Marco Lomi in the Aston Martin alongside George Boothby in the 800 as the green flag flies here at Bathurst Mount Panorama. We run down a hill corner for the first time, and that is some very defensive driving already. Have a look at Grantas Caracas already side by side with Casarino. It's a great run there from from Stasenko as they run up the hill for the first time. I think it's going to be a straight up drag race between the Ferrari and that Aston Martin, and that Ferrari looks like it might be getting the legs. There's Philippe Minard as well in the background trying to block things off, and there we go, the job is done by Genisus Caracas, up to P2 already as we come up through the hill for the first time of asking here, Joe.
One more corner to go from most of the field. Oh, and there you go. Some of our leaders just dominoes as they punt one another, and somebody went off. Was that barrier? That car ahead of you makes a mistake. This is Dirkop trying to go to the inside down at the chase, and maybe, unfortunately, losing the grip on the exit. I think as time went by, he naturally started doing stuff for GSRC, and oh, we got a problem here for Luke Addison, who's facing the wrong way. We've already seen this is tough to try and get turned around.
Go side by side. This is a bit ballsy here from George Boothby, but I guess you're not going to see anything else from him. Gets that inside line. Aston Martin is going to try and turn in, and you're never going to make that happen on the McLaren. You're then going to have Eamon Murphy on the inside line, and that's going to be a very, very frustrated Marco Lomi. Is going to try and make a dive up the inside. Is he late on the brakes? Does get it stopped, does get slowed down, but that is how you go from 0 to 0. So let's have a look here down through Skyline. He's already massively out of sync there onto the brakes, and yeah, that's it looks like an innocuous hit there into the wall, and then immediately clatters into his teammate. It was up into P12 there. I wonder if it's been a little bit of a moment. What there has been a moment there is Samir Fox getting past the man, the myth, the legend, the 777, the homing missile himself. As we go back to Maciej Malinowski and Marco Lomi coming up the straight here towards the right-hander. That was, I mean, made that look easy. Quite a bit of rounds.
Miscommunication would be my guess. If you're like that, oh, holy cow, was that home?
Yeah, the homing missile, return to sender. So this is Ronaldo Bursma then, so he's already got a lot of damage here. But I got the feeling this is going to involve that car that's coming behind him.
Philby Park is my guess here.
Oh no, this car's just there. No. Oh, come on.
Unsafe re-entry is a common theme at Bathurst.
Back there, Joe. This is building up nicely. Oh, it's done! That is going to be Marco Bischoff into the wall, and just as the pit lane window opens, Hansen, Barry and Casarino are ready to join in as we see Noel Hatchie side by side with Christian Fenter and losing that position out there. Barry slows down the car. Casarino tries to get the car back around the outside. He's going to have it. That's a beautiful, beautiful run there from Casarino. That is one of the moves of the night so far. Absolutely beautiful.
And I'll pit in.
Moved on.
Let him through.
Whoa. Moved on from George Boothby there on Philippe Minard. We saw it side by side. Got that position done there. So we see that is Eamon Murphy on the inside there. So there's contact originally. Well, that is for me, that is absolutely crystal clear.
You can see the edge of the track. Yes, this is perfect here. I mean, this is all fair here. He gets himself side by side, but then he tracks out. And yeah, he needs to be just half a lane over. Give a little bit more space to your competitor on the table, and you got to go all the way to the end. As it looks like, are we going to have another pass, or is this going to be another accident coming out of there? McLaren going off the course, and that hands it over to Lomi.
Right. Bischoff again tries to cut to the inside this time. Does the BMW have the inside line? Trying to think about it. That was a great move there from Bischoff. Fair play to Minard. Come down through here into the chase. Also watching Maciej Malinowski. It's going to be Lattice late breakers. This is a Honda to get it done in time. To be fair, that was a damn good move from Sakari Lehtinen. Anytime you can come into a race and don't do it, Thomas. That's fine. No. Oh no, he's broken the car. No, not like this. Round 6 of the Genisus Risk Kaizen Championship, and it's Mikhail Stasenko who takes the checkered flag. Second place is going to go to Genisus Caracas, and then in third place a little bit later on is going to be George Boothby. So as always, the drivers faced with an incredible challenge at Bathurst, more so than me trying to pronounce it consistently over the last week there. But you can see there, Matteo Casarino at the top of the table there. Now these include the drop points the drop rounds for the championship. George Boothby in second place, just 11 points behind, and then 1 point back to Grantes Caracas in third position. Maciej Malinowski, Philippe Minard, Mikhail Statsenko, Tommy Razier, Valentin Barrier, and then Jaroslav Honzik. All of those drivers within 100 points of your championship leader, Marco Bischoff, just outside there with a 265, but still well within contention with 5 rounds left to go, including tonight here. But we move on, as we said, because the Genisus Risk Kaizen Championship moves to Italy. We are here at Misano tonight, and we've got a little bit of a treat for you tonight, because we've got a bit of an awesome track guide from our very own Joe Peak. So Joe, why don't you take us through?
Absolutely. Of Misano, where you do have opportunities to try to pass here into the Del Parco chicane, but it's a bit difficult because it's slightly swifter. You can see where you spot your braking, you're going to have to try and open it up on the exit here, because you can go flat out coming through this final right-hander. That'll take you up to Rio. Very hard braking zone into this corner. Again, can sometimes offer chances to pass, but it's a short spurt up into here, and it gets very tight into this turn. Also want to hug the right-hand side so you can really open it up onto this long straightaway down to Quercia, because this is another spot where you might see overtakes start to happen. But the thing is, there's a lot of banking coming through this corner. So you carry much more speed than you would expect through a hairpin. And it's kind of a wide apex too, a wide radius on it. Then it switches back, setting up for Tramonto. Very difficult. Look at the kink on the entry into it. You're having to brake as you turn. And as you come through this corner, really you want to focus on the exit. Longest acceleration zone on the track, on the backstretch. And unfortunately, it's not completely straight. You'll see you have a number of swift corners through here, which can cause problems. Through Corvone, up through here, where drivers are going to have to probably get single file. Coming into the next part, you can see you're going to have to once again brake and turn at the same time as you set up for Caro, this hairpin at the very end of it, just dabbing the brakes a little bit more right at the very end. Finally getting back on the throttle once more, switching sides as quickly as you can. And again, trying to open it up, because you need to set yourself up for the last corner, which interestingly enough is called Misano. Another good place to maybe try and get a pass done. But if you do get it done, you could also see the over-under from the other car trying to set yourself up for the run down to turn 1. And that is a lap around Misano.
And made it look so easy. A huge thank you to Cody Sherritt for providing that lap, and to Joe for talking us around there. But the initial impression there, Joe, is that this is a track that favours smoothness, both on the accelerator application on the exit of the corners, as well as the brake input on the entry into the corners as well. It's all about keeping the corner speed as high as possible.
Very much so. And honestly, those corner entries, there's a number of places, like I said, where you're turning and braking at the same time. If you're someone like me who's never been good at trail braking, this is going to be a difficult track.
I'm just a little bit happy that you've said that there, because I've got somebody after my own heart there, Joe. I really struggle with it as well. But it's one of those tracks that I really enjoy. It's a weird one, because it's one of the few tracks that I don't consider myself very competitive at, but it is an absolute joy to drive. It's very smooth, very enjoyable, especially as you're coming up towards, say, Corvone or the Curva del Caro. Very fast corners, and very easy and straightforward to attempt, but it's also very easy to get wrong as well. As we're about to find out, because we're about to go into qualifying just now. It's 6 minutes and 45 seconds, and yet again, probably no surprise here, Joe, but those times just as close and as competitive as ever. And every week, I don't know why I do this to myself. Every week, I'm always surprised at just how damn close this is. That's bonkers.
It's really just become stunning the way that the drivers have all managed to get the maximum out of each and every track. You'd think that there'd be a kind of a bogey track where someone finds a bit of an edge over the others, but no, they're all so tight, and it's the tiniest of margins that you have to perform at your utmost to get the most out of it. Tariq Adam all the way up into 5th, this latest lap. Looks like he does not jump up any higher, so he'll have to try again a little bit later. So these drivers, as we see Tommy Razier coming out onto what looks like out of Quercia and towards Tremonto. Again, I think this is going to be one of the spots of the track where you see the biggest difference made, especially in the lap time, because they need to be on that throttle as soon as they can. It's basically flat out until the little jink to the right up to Quero.
Yeah, and on that note as well, it makes it so important because while you get to that point, the top speed that you're going into that corner with is all determined by the several corners that go there as well. It reminds me a lot of, and I need to preface this immediately because it's going to sound a really strange comment, but it reminds me a lot of Paul Ricard in terms of the way that it's like really long straight and then a series of corners, then a really long straight and then a series of corners as well. Thankfully, the layout is nowhere near as horrific and boring as Paul Ricard's. Don't at me. But the thing with this as well is that, you know, it's a brilliant circuit for me because it gives that carrot to all of the drivers here, Joe, in terms of when you've got those deep corners, as Chris Radke goes very deep on the corner there, but you've got those deep corners after the straights, and it's almost tantalisingly close because you will be behind 2 or 3 cars and you think, I'm just going to send it. Am I going to send it? I'm going to send it. And then suddenly you've maybe got 2 positions there. Or you find yourself into the barrier.
Well, exactly. And I think that's the thing that I do love about seeing races at tracks such as this is because those, as Martin Brundle likes to call them, those are mistake generators. You know, it's very difficult to get them right consistently, time and time again. And getting those mistakes out of drivers ahead could make the difference on if we see an overtake or see someone be able to start to run away from somebody who looks close on pace to them. So finding your marks, hitting them time after time, lap after lap, are probably going to be something that winds up separating the wheat from the chaff.
Wow, hang on a second here. Right, hold the phones. Marco Bischoff and Grantis Caracas have got exactly the same time in second and third position. 132.507. Right to the last digit there. I mean, this is nuts how close this is with everybody right now. Booby's out in front, George Boothby out in front there, but it's Marco Bischoff who is trying to push this car with everything that he's got right now. But given that we've got 3 cars there within 1/10 of a second of the leader here, again, the qualifying pace is impressive here, but it's almost more about what they can do out on track.
And I wonder if this is measured beyond the thousandth of a second. So apparently the sim has an idea of who is just that tiniest little bit quicker than everybody else. But whatever the case, it's putting the McLaren ahead of the Ferrari here today. Seems like McLarens are doing fairly well. Other than Boothby and Caracas up at the top, though, we have to go all the way down to Luke Addison in 11th to get to our next Ferrari. Yeah,
it's a mixed bag, I think, as well. And this is one thing that I really do like about Assetto Corsa Competizione. It has its lovers and it has its haters, but one thing I think that they do is the balance of performance. I think they do it so well. We're seeing that out here. So we say a very warm welcome to Sebastian Louis Alexander for Virtual Drivers by TX3. He is making his debut in the championship tonight in that rather lovely looking number 10 Aston Martin. And I suppose there's worse ways to make your debut than coming in at the tail end of the season here, as we've got Mattia Brunara. Now, I don't believe we've seen that name in here. We have seen, we saw Thomas Trollope made his debut last week. We've got Chris Radke. I'm not sure I've seen that name. Eric Muxka. I think we've seen him before. Yeah, we've seen him quite a few times. But anyway, so we've got a minute and a half, right? This is now when it starts getting a little bit crazy as we see Maciek Malinowski up to P2 there with a 132.5. So he's done a fairly decent job there as well.
And he started the season so strong. I'm sure he's a little bit frustrated that he's no longer leading the points, but I wonder if we'll see him try and strike back, especially at a track like this where, like I said, you need traction out of corners, and that Porsche is known for that. currently sitting second on the timing sheets, is a good sign here. Going to be beginning things on the front row here today.
Seeing Amadeo Casarino up there as well, so that now makes it 5 cars within 1/10 of a second. And again, going all the way back down, this is what I always love looking at, is the fact that we've got now 27 drivers here within 1 second of your race leader. Such is the absolute determination, such is the absolute pace from these drivers out there today. Amazing effort, absolutely amazing to watch here, and I am all here for it. Now, let's get the elephant in the room out of the way. Misano, turns 1 and 2. It is going to be an absolute bloodbath tonight. But given that it's a little bit more, sooner, I think, rather than later when it comes to the first corner, the first chicane there, than Monza. We always expect chaos at Monza, but they're always well behaved. But I think turn 1 here kind of catches people out because you're never really sure. It's a little bit longer than you expect, and then it comes up on you suddenly, and then you've got 15 cars in front of you trying to brake at the same time.
Yeah, well, and the nice thing is, like I said, it's a little bit more open than what you see at Monza, so that will help it out somewhat. Plus, the paved runoff that surrounds it will allow drivers a bit of an escape if they feel like they're too cluttered coming into there. So I'm actually cautiously optimistic that I think that we could see drivers be able to get through there without causing too many problems.
Well, admin has just popped that up in chat. How many cars making it through Sector 1 tonight? 32 drivers starting. I'm not sure. 25. We'll that's going to be my official guess. We'll say 25 getting through Sector 1. But qualifying is coming to an end. And if history is in it and go by, this is going to be a ridiculous lap by George Boothby. He usually saves some silly laps, but talking of silly laps, it's not going to count because he has invalidated that lap. So Booby is not going to be improving on that one. Tommy Rozier though comes out the final corner. I'm fairly sure that's just invalidated that corner there. So easy to do on that final corner, just coming out a little bit too late on the brakes and taking too much speed in there, Joe.
Yeah, exactly. That definitely didn't look within the bounds as Meyer nearly runs into somebody as he finishes his lap.
There we go then. 32 cars have done their qualifying. We are ready to head down to the grid very shortly. In the meantime, let's remind you of your opportunity to get a lifetime license to ACC Drive for only €25. What is ACC Drive, I hear you ask? It is your one-stop shop, your one-stop toolbox for anything Assetto Corsa Competizione. Do you need a virtual engineer helping you out, making setup changes for your car to get that extra tenth of a second, to get that extra little bit of advantage? That's ACC Drive for you. Do you need an overlay for your live timing or for your stream? That's where ACC Drive comes in as well. Only €25. Scan the QR code at the bottom right of your screen and get that limited offer while it lasts. We're using ACC Drive here in the commentary tower to give you all of the live timings. Normally it's a commentary room. I don't know how we've upgraded it to a tower this week, but we'll just ignore that one. But get your lifetime licenses, say €25. Scan that QR code in the bottom right, and like I said, we've been using ACC Drive now for our live timing for a couple of weeks, and I'll be honest, I absolutely love it. I love how clean it is. I love how, compared to the other stuff we were using before, it was all in boxes and modules and locked behind paywalls and everything. You pay one price and it unlocks absolutely everything for you. So yeah, very, very much a fan of that. I'm not a big person for like shilling stuff that we don't use. But having the ability to try this out, Joe, and you'll be using it as well yourself when we're looking at the live timing, it makes it so much easier, doesn't it?
It really does. Sounds like the grid is ready to go here today. So 32 cars going to take to the track.
This is going to be a busy affair. Round 7 of the Genisus Risk Kaizen Championship here at Monza. Misano even, good lord. Right, Grantis Caracas lines up on the front. No, he doesn't. What am I talking about? George Boothby lines up on the front there alongside Maciek Malinowski. Then Marco Bischoff alongside Grant Karakis on row 2. Row 3 is Amadeo Castorino with Mikhail Statsenko. It's then Tariq Adam alongside Tommy Rozier on row 4. Row 5 is going to be Jaroslav Hontig alongside Henry Meyer. And then row 6 is going to be Duvlar alongside Valentin Barrier. Row 7 is Henrik Gamble alongside Cody Sherritt. Row 8 is going to be Doran alongside Luke Addison. And then on row 9 is Nai Zaitzin alongside Marco Schade. Row 10 is Christian Deploy alongside Eric Mukska. And then on row 11, Noel Hatche and Abe Santima. That's 21st and 22nd position. We'll give you the rest of them as they head round for their warm-up lap just now here. But again, with that big grid that we've got, 32 cars here, Joe, it is going to be so important to get a good start here.
Absolutely. Drivers going to want to try and position themselves, as you said, very well into Del Parco to make sure that they stay out of trouble and can find their way through. And especially, I think I'm more watching out for the run through Rio and that side by side. Is looks like we've got Meyer going to be starting in 16th, followed by the likes of, we're down to P23, so it looks like Moberg going to be starting 24th. Then you've got Manson in P25, Ventar going to be in the 26th position, Falk in the 27th, and you've got Bauer, P28, Horsey starting 29th, top 30 rounded out by Radke, and our new driver, Louis, going to be in 31st, with Trollope rounding out the 32-car field.
Certainly is. So a lot of names in there. A lot of drivers want to get good points in this beginning of the tail end of the championship. And there's going to be fireworks. Absolutely guarantee you. Just get a huge sense, a tingling sense, shall we say. That's about the most polite word that I can use on this. But either way, for the 7th time this season, the lights are about to go out and we go live for our formation lap. And I've got to be honest, I am loving that car on the right-hand side there. And that is, I think that's Felix Bauer in the number 4 McLaren. That car looks absolutely gorgeous. Loving that.
I was going to say, I'm a big fan of purples and pink, and it looks very good on McLaren.
Same with that car in the back there, that number, I think that might be an official livery that's on that car. That's Trollope in the 316, sorry. McLaren at the back, but talking of purple, well, it's all about this boy here, isn't it? The bright purple Ferrari of George Boothby leading the cars round for their formation lap here. Remember, it's going to be it's going to be a rolling start there until I saw that car, that McLaren, just absolutely stopped on the right-hand side. We see it getting away again now. I think that might have been Tommy Rozier, but he's got his way back to the grid. Now, for those watching, the way that the Assetto Corsa Competizione works for the formation laps is that the cars are they don't have any contact enabled until the final quarter of the circuit. You'll maybe see them run through each other. They still see each other on the track there, but it's just that contact isn't enabled during this first part. It allows the server to stabilise, it allows the cars to stabilise as well, and avoids any issues on the warm-up lap as well. So they can all go absolutely ham, get some heat into the tyres, get some heat into the brakes at this early stage, which is going to be absolutely crucial. They need to get running immediately, and then you'll see them fan out 2 by 2. That's when contact gets enabled, and that's when you can see them ready to go. But we're just a couple of corners away there. So it's Boothby, Malinowski, Bischoff, Karakis, Castorino, Statsenko. Basically, all of your top title contenders right here are at the front of the grid. And realistically, that's exactly where they need to be for this 7th round here.
I'm a bit surprised at Castorino. We kind of have talked in the past how he's not the best of qualifier, but a very good racer. This is relatively high up for him, starting in 5th. I think he's got a really good shot at this one.
100%. Absolutely Definitely does. And remember, Casarino, your championship leader, away down in 5th position. So at the moment it's George Boothby who has all the coins in his pocket so far. But Boothby and Malinowski side by side. That Porsche has been renowned for getting a good start here, but does it have the legs on the Ferrari? We're about to find out here as we're about to go live for round 7 of the Genisus Risk Kaizen Championship, as the cars make their way round that final corner at Misano. And we go very patiently across the line. The car's on the limit. As we get the green flag flying, we go racing. And it's a great start for Malinowski on the outside line. He looks to try and get the curve round the outside. He's going to have the lead into this first part of the sector here, but it's going to be fighting side by side with George Boothby. Boothby struggling to get those tyres woken up, but that forces the Porsche wide completely through his own mistake there. You've got 4 cars trying to go into one corner there. There's almost contact with Bischoff, Caracas and Casarino, but they all sort themselves out. That's the Aston Martin. There's big contact in the background. That's at least 4 cars that have been wiped out there, and that allows George Boothby to get a little bit of a lead there over Malinowski, but it's Casarino into their place. Casarino makes a move to the inside there. Couldn't see if that actually worked out, as that's Marco Bischoff all the way down into 8th position. Casarino though tries to make a move on Malinowski, and Boothby is saying see you later guys.
Yeah, that was a red Ferrari that got turned there. I'm not sure what caused it. May have been Statsenko. I'm not entirely sure. Regardless, a miserable start. And like I said, that run through Rio is always going to be tricky. I think that proved true.
I think you're absolutely spot on. You did totally call that. But look at the light years that the top 3 have already got right now. Boothby trying to get the better of them here. 7/10 of a second. This is what we always notice in this Genisus Risk Championship. If Boothby gets a chance to get away for the first 2 laps, he's done. You will not catch him. But if he's behind for the first 2 laps, it's a completely open whether or not he's actually going to get a win on that one. However, we'll wait and see, because Malinowski now has to worry about Amadeo Casarino, who wants to get that, as that is the number 427 that brings out the yellow flags there, and that, I'm afraid to say, is going to be we'll work that one out very shortly. That's Giovanni Porzio. So let's have a quick replay then of the race start then, and what exactly went on. This is a little bit further down, so you're right, that does look like it's Grantis Caracas that gets involved with that. So that's where that Porsche just wipes itself back onto the track there. You can see the Ferrari trying to go around the outside. Oh, it just gets tagged there from that Ferrari behind. There's just chaos, absolute chaos behind there, and I'm never a fan of that. There's a yellow flag, there's a car stricken on track, and you're just compiling in it about 75, 80 miles an hour.
That's the big difference between sim racing and real racing. In real racing, there are hundreds of thousands of dollars invested in preparing the car and paying the team and the sponsors' expectations, and then the safety of life and limb as well. So drivers can often be a little bit more cautious in those situations. In the sim, you just a lot of times go for it, because you can take the risk, and you don't lose as much other than just the race, and you're frustrated. But some do have the survival instinct out there. Oftentimes, I do see those drivers that have that survival instinct somehow mysteriously make it to the end of the race more often.
Yeah, that was actually something that I've got a lot of experience with. We'll come back to that conversation in just a second. Let's have a quick replay then of another incident from earlier on here. So this is from another point of view here on the car of Giovanni Porzio, and he just gets tagged and then absolutely destroyed from that beautiful number 4 McLaren. Yeah, that car's done. You can see him trying to get going again, and really struggling. So Giovanni Porzio with some severe damage. He is still going though, and let's say he is still out there on track, so that's good to see. Grantis Caracas unfortunately has retired on that. You were mentioning about drivers holding back a little bit, and I have to 100% agree with you on that one, as that's a slightly optimistic move there from Noel Hatche. Just decides to be charitable and gift away 2 positions there to Clifford and almost to Chris Radke. But with the drivers that are surviving being the ones that are a little bit more patient and a little bit more cautious, that was a very hard lesson for me to learn in terms of doing sim racing. And it was one that I didn't discover until a couple of years ago. And I've been doing sim racing for quite a while. But I'm also the one that would complain and bitch and moan about, oh, drivers can't drive properly and the driving standards are terrible and there's all these accidents and stuff. And it's like, I'm finding my way into these accidents where I don't need to be involved in these accidents. It's because you're not having that caution. You don't have that sort of wanting to protect yourself. And there was a weird little trick that I used actually to change that completely. And this is when it was in iRacing. So obviously in iRacing you get penalty points, you get incident points that are on there. And I would put in my head, right, for every incident point I get, I'm going to have to put £10 towards something, like something that I didn't really want to do. And you'd be amazed that maybe it's me being a Scotsman and not actually want to pay for anything. But it honestly, it changed everything. So that's a wild move up the inside there on Marco Bischoff. That was huge. Peter Duvlier and the Aston Martin from about 3 weeks ago there. Sorry, that was Valentin Barrier, excuse me, trying to go around the inside. And the Aston Martin, the unmistakable, well, I say unmistakable, yet somehow I got it mixed up. But Valentin Barrier tried to absolutely send it there, and well, I guess that's the aggression coming out there.
Yeah, Quercia, like I said, really invites you to try and make those passes, and going side by side up into Quero is not going to work out as well either. It's just going to slot back into line. But yeah, Quercia just, it looks like you should be able to try and make those overtakes, but you carry so much speed through it that as soon as you dive it in, you kind of realize late, this door is going to close.
Yeah, because it does close so quickly as well, and then you've got usually nowhere left to go, either onto the grass or you end up having to take at least one other car out with you. But we're on board with the Aston Martin of Valentin Barrier here in the 72 car, chasing down Duvlier in the 112. McLaren just in front. The McLarens have had a great start to this actually. 4 of them up in the top 10 so far just now, but it is still George Boothby who is way out in front with this now. 1.4 seconds, less than 10 minutes into this race. Maciej Malinowski doesn't really have anything for it just now, but Amadeo Casarino keeping that Porsche nice and honest at the front here, and some big points on offer tonight.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing is just keep tabs on him. Don't let him get too far away. There is a bit of a gap building at about 1.5 seconds right now. Unfortunately, that means that Castorino is the bigger concern for Malinowski because he's only back there by about half a second behind. But we'll keep an eye on it and see if whether or not he can start to reel back in that Ferrari.
Yeah, the thing with that as well is that it makes it so difficult once that gap has opened up. It's easy to lose a gap. It's easier to lose a gap than it is to sort of build a gap for some of these drivers. Yet Boothby does it week in, week out with some comparative ease. However, I'm not going to speak too soon because Malinowski actually keeping that car within tabs, keeping that gap at around about 1.4 seconds here. Remember, we do have a mandatory pit stop here in this race. You can see on the left-hand side on that timing tower, you see the orange row filled with number ones. That is how many pit stops the drivers have left to do. So obviously they've got one pit stop to take, so the pit stop window will open around about 40 minutes left to go, and then close with it's usually around about 20 minutes left to go. It's a 20-minute pit stop window that they get here as well, and with it only being a 60-minute race here as well, again, strategy wise it means that there's less to choose from for the drivers. They literally just get on with it for the sprint races. Tommy Rozier tries to send it up the inside. If he got that slowed down, I've got no idea how. If there wasn't any contact with Nietsen there, I'd be very impressed. But again, he is absolutely sending that car wherever he possibly can. Slightly aggressive move there, but sometimes you have to be bold, sometimes you have to be brave. And Alexander Nietsen has to get shuffled down the position, as that looked like Tobias Moberg trying to have a little look there as well.
Yeah, now that Rozier kind of slowed down his momentum, Moberg thought this is my best opportunity, but wasn't quite fully alongside, and he's a little quicker down through the hairpin. which is going to send them both out a little bit wide, but great job by Niatsen to keep from losing that car.
Well, here we go. Tariq Adam wanting to make a move on Amadeo Castorino. So what the hell happened to Castorino coming out of that final corner? They go side by side. We go 2 side by side for P2, P3, P4, P5. And that almost moved on. And Tariq Adam gets clipped by the Aston Martin. That's going to cause havoc because now we've got an absolute melee going on here as Tariq Adam's going to be raging at that one. Statsenko up into P3 now. This is absolutely bonkers. Tariq Adam jumps back up into P4. You've got Jaroslav Honzik in the Aston Martin. We were told off air that these Astons were performing very, very strong. That's exactly what we're seeing at this early stage of the race. Honzig up to P6. You've got Castorino into P2 and Valentin Barrier into 10th position as well. Ironically, that's always where we see that driver of Valentin Barrier as he starts outside the top 10 for some reason, just charges his way through the field here. He's onto the back of Duevlar. But look at that, that is a proper choo-choo train led down by Amadeo Castorino. He is the conductor of that train today, and it looks like there's about, 8 carriages involved in that as Valentin Barrier sends it up the inside there. Beautiful, beautiful telegraph move. Oh. But I'm not sure about that because that McLaren tries to turn in when there's already a car occupying the apex there. We knew he was going to try that, but I don't know what he expected the outcome to be.
Yeah, I mean, there reaches a point to kind of what you were talking about before, where you just have to put your hands up and say, you know what, I can't fight this, and I just need to let him have the spot at that point. That was very gutsy out of Barrier coming down through those last few corners, because it is tough to try and weave the car through there as you're trying to get it slowed up in time. Now he's got to set his sights forward up to Bischoff, who's definitely not been having the best start to this race, all the way down to 8th position. And we see the car in front of him, Meyer behind Honzik, Malinowski, as we're going to take a look at the replay on Tariq and see how this kind of went down through the first chicane. Now it all starts out fine here, and then it wound up with contact at the end, which surprises me a little bit. Let's see. Oh, he's got a nose ahead. You know, I feel like Tariq maybe could have given him just a little bit more space, to be honest.
No, I have to agree with you. I think that car was always alongside. He might have had the advantage, but that car was always going to be have a nose up to the rear quarter panel of it. Yeah, to be fair, I think on any other normal line, you would have backed out by that point for Castorino, but he's fighting for this championship here. I think it might be seen as a racing incident. It'd certainly be very harsh if it did go against Castorino, but I could see the logic if it did. But yeah, let's see what happens from that. But either way, damn, what a start to this race. We're nearly a quarter of the way into the race already, and might be a bit premature, but you might as well get the ticker tape out for George Boothby at the moment, with him being 4.8 seconds at the moment ahead. And the reason I say that is because Amadeo Castorino has got an absolute mirror full. He's got about 15 cars behind them right now. You look at that map on the middle right there, and then you've got your race leader with a triangle, and then you just got everybody else. Now, thankfully, he is starting to break away a little bit there from the likes of Statsenko and Adam and Malinowski, and then you've got a gap back to Bischoff. But I mean, talk about the pressure right now. Firstly, the lack of it to George Boothby. He must be sitting out there having a Sunday drive today, and Amadeo Castorino with, you know, seemingly the world on his shoulders right now.
The thing that interests me about Castorino is we often talk about him racing better. We were just mentioning a similar thing for Barrier, and the common denominator there, both of them in the Astons. Honzik is the other one in the top 10 right now, running in the Astons. We'll have to watch and see if he kind of moves forward. I wonder if that's a car that doesn't qualify as well. It's not a one-lap pace car, but just very good about being able to knock laps out.
I think it is, and again, what we're seeing here is the fact that the Aston performing very, very strongly here at Misano, so it's doing very, very well indeed. You can see there, ladies and gentlemen, at the bottom right of your screen, get yourself a limited edition lifetime license offer for ACC Drive, just €25 if you scan in the QR code. Head over to ACC Drive, get yourself a membership on that. ACC Drive is your one-stop shop, your one-stop toolbox here for Assetto Corsa Competizione, whether you need a virtual race engineer to get the most out of your car and your setups, or whether you need a fancy little live timing overlay, or you need some live timing for your race in general for, say, a fourth monitor or something like that. That is exactly what you'll get from ACC Drive, and tons more. Head over to ACC Drive to claim your lifetime license. Right, back to the race just now though, and while we're actually on the sort of topic of that, warming things up here, just a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, on the YouTube for Genesis Extreme, simply type in the word Italy to get yourself involved with this week's viewer chat giveaway. A chance to win a $10 Steam gift voucher. Type in the word Italy into chat, and you could be in with a chance to win that. Henry Meyer, whoa, that was a dive. That was a beautiful move there. And you know what, Valentin Barrier can just so easily do that. But the thing is when he does do that, you almost cripple the driver that you're doing it to, because they lose so much in momentum.
Yeah, so now Meyer's going to have to worry about Duvallard just behind him. In fact, going defensive into the first corner. It looks like they'll slot back single file, so that'll work out well for Henry here for a tiny bit. But that surprised me out of Barrier to see an aggressive move like that. And he didn't just outbrake him by a bit. I mean, that car charged fully and clearly ahead by the apex.
Yeah, it certainly did. But we're already 15 minutes into the race, so we're rapidly approaching our pit stop window. And I would think, like we've seen pretty much all the way through this season here, Joe, is that drivers, I think, will be waiting till really the end of the pit stop window. So, like step out, maybe 5 to 8 minutes left to go in the window before they choose to pit. That overcut has been so powerful this season.
Exactly. And again, unless you're stuck in a pack, the call is to try and stay out as long as you can, especially if you're leading it. Force the others to blink first and maybe save a bit of fuel if possible on the way into the corners to try and extend it so that you can go longer than everybody else around you. Manson back here in a battle with a teammate. These two not going side by side for now, although Albin has to really catch the thing.
That was a moment and a half there, and a fantastic bit of driver control there from Albin Manson. Beautiful on-board shot there. The thing is, though, as well, is this is like a baptism of fire for all of these teams. And talking of teams, we have to say a huge congratulations to the Genesis esports team, getting all of their teams, I think it was, 3 teams that they got accepted for the SRO global global esports event, the championship that's happening this year, of course, seen as one of the pinnacle events here in Assetto Corsa Competizione, the Intercontinental GT Championship. And again, no mean feat getting involved in that, but that's going to be some really busy competition for them this year.
No doubt, and that one is going to be a big deal with SRO behind that. Such a global phenomenon with their sports car racing all over the place. And Zach Doran here right now in his Visceral Esports car. We're going to hop on board with him as he follows behind one of our McLarens of Gamble just in front of him. Let's see if he's going to try a move. He's going to think about it here and see if he can get the nose in. Thankfully, looks like Gamble is going to give him the space at the apex, but unfortunately, that might be his undoing. The 110 getting a little handsy, shoving him into the gravel. That was
a little bit rude, wasn't it? Poor Gamble there. It's like, yeah, you can have the room. It's fine. And then he gets brutally shoved out to the into the gravel, into the kitty litter there. So Well, I'm sure the stewards will be looking at that one and have something to say about that. So I was doing a endurance race at the. I'll come back to that thought in a second because we've got a race control message about to come up. So let's see who's got into trouble. It's the number 13 car. So that is Luke Addison for a collision with the 427 on lap 1. That is a 15-second time penalty in the 427. That is Giovanni Pozzo. So 15-second penalty for Luke Addison there. Now we were talking about SRO and the esports events there. I was doing a 24-hour esports event for commentary at the weekend there, and one of the talking points that I was doing there, because it was like a lot of hours of commentary and I had a load of stuff just to try and help you through it. I never really looked into GT3 racing. Like I love it, I love watching it, but I never looked into the history of it before. And it wasn't until this weekend that I realised that kind of SRO invented the series. I mean, there was GT racing before that in the early 2000s, but the whole reason that GT3 came up was because Stefan Rottel had decided or wanted to do something because it was prohibitively expensive and was essentially just manufacturer-based teams. So he wanted something that was more open to the privateers, basically, and the individuals, the sort of privateer racers and folk that could actually be able to come in and afford racing. That's where GT3 came from, and just exploded in popularity in the case of 15 years. It's crazy that I never really looked into it before now, and a fascinating history.
Yeah, I think it was the right thing to come along. It's definitely saved GT racing in a big way, I think. And honestly, I had the pleasure of getting to meet Stefan last summer when he came to Road America for the North American SRO series, and it was definitely a bit of awe feeling, just standing there realizing I'm standing next to the guy that literally invented GT3 racing right now.
It's and you know what as well is the fact that I've only ever shaken his hand and met him very, very briefly, and you're like, he is so cool, is he? You're just like, yeah. I wish I could kind of be that he's got that sort of air of like, yeah, he is the man. Anyway, the point being is that it's something that we all come to know and love, and it's just fascinating that it has such small beginnings, if that makes sense, and that it's going to blossom for them there, because we've taken it for granted that it is so popular and it's been around for years that it's just something that's kind of always been there. And I think Assetto Corsa Competizione is one of those games that really captures the essence of GT racing, of the GT3s, the GT4s, as well as Henrik Gamble. I'm not sure that was planned there. That did look like a rapidly unscheduled disassembly there from Henrik Gamble into the fence.
Yeah, I think he hit it, especially based on the damage that we see on the right-hand side. So he is within the pit window, but it's an early stop. I wonder if some of that is from the contact that he also had a little bit ago. Let's not forget about that. That was the same side of the car that he kind of got shoved on as Bischoff here, all the way down to 7th, and still fighting as, man, that purple Aston Martin going a little too deep this time. He may be brave on the brakes, but it can't do impossible wonders. He's going to have to try again later.
Yeah, the gaps have all kind of squeezed back together here. That Aston is properly sending it. As we're saying, drive-through penalties coming in thick and fast. We saw, I think that was Fleming Bauer got one. Marco Schade has got a drive-through penalty. And that's a topic really we've not spoken about. We'll come to that in a second about track limits here. As Marco Bischoff is about to get absolutely devoured here by this Aston Martin. You're kidding me. No way. Around the outside. Thankfully, that McLaren tried to hold it back there, but what a move around the inside as Valentin Barry gets a penalty slapped onto him. Not sure if that is just the 5 seconds or if it's more there, but I've got a feeling that might be for a little bit overly aggressive manoeuvres as Marco Bischoff decides to come into pit lane there. We'll get confirmation from race control in just a second, but Marco Bischoff maybe wisely, and there you go, 5 second penalty for car 2 and 72. That is Marco Bischoff. Ironically, that is for something that happened around about 11 laps ago.
Interesting on that one. Yeah, I don't know what Val had for breakfast this morning, but man, he's full of it today and is just pushing and shoving his way through. Clearly has a fast car, but yeah, I'd worry that. Did you say it's confirmed? He's got a penalty coming.
Yeah, no, so that's on screen there just now. He's got that 5-second penalty for himself there, but that'll be why Marco just decided that enough was enough and it's time to go into pit lane.
Okay, well, we'll see if, Barrier, in that 72, if he comes and serves that quickly or if he's going to try and wait as long as he can. Marco Schade is back out, and the other Marco, Bischoff, returns to the track in what looks to be about 21st position. So let's see if he gets himself some nice clear air. Trollope himself going to be able to overtake him just as he exits. What about Samir here? Is he the one to the inside trying to play defense into this corner? I kind of wonder if this is what you got to do, because we've now seen Valentin use that in an effective way where you get the car offline to the inside and then you use the over-under to cut into the hairpin here.
Yeah, it really is about car placement over the different corners here, whether or not you're trying to be attacking or whether you're trying to be defensive here. Smart car placement is what's going to win you positions here and win you battles. What's also going to win you battles is absolute top-end speed, and that's what we're seeing here from Tobias Moberg just behind Samir Fotcher as they go into turn one. You can also see Albin Manson just behind them as well. So there is Valentin Barrier into the pit lane. Sorry, that was actually Jonathan Clifford that I meant to say there. But because my brain is so slow there, Joe, and because the camera cut away immediately, I was looking to the left-hand side there.
And Moberg now still kind of in a bit of an interesting battle here. Is looks like that's Clifford in behind him, poking and prodding, but the Lambo can't quite find the room at this stage. He's definitely close enough. I think his goal right now needs to be keep trying to rattle Tobias, keep trying to get a mistake out of him, and then, like you said, position your car at the right place at the right time.
Yeah, there's a lot of reading goes on as well in terms of the reading the cars in front. So, for instance, if you're Clifford here, right, you're watching the braking points of Tobias Moberg and you're trying to figure out, right, where can I get an extra half a mile an hour, like here, and that's exactly what we see. Is Tobias Moberg goes defensive there, tries to go around the outside, but I honestly think that Lamborghini is going to go around the outside there as we cut away to Valentin Barrier. There is Amadeo Casarino, your championship leader, into the pit lane. Henry Meyer into the pit lane as well. For me, this is quite early. A lot of these drivers coming in, I was expecting them to not be pitting for at least, oh my god, that car was looking decidedly second hand of Doran there.
Yeah, that was not factory spec, unfortunately. And Boothby has, I don't think, even a chip of paint gone from this car the way that it's been running so far. Up to, well, still hovering at about 5 seconds. That hasn't gone up much ever since the cars behind started to battle a little bit earlier, except now it's Stetsenko who is sitting in behind him, has taken over the place a little bit. But yeah, interesting that Boothby at first looked like he was going to start to run away, but now it's sort of stalled out.
I do wonder though, and this is the thing as well, because we always try and read into, it's like reading tea leaves watching this race. You know, you're trying to extrapolate as much out of little bits of data as you possibly can here, and that gap has kind of, it's not gone up in the same way that we saw earlier on, but we've got to remember he got 3 seconds off that lead because Amadeo Casarino and the 6 cars behind him were all fighting for position. There was that big move, earlier on that handed him a little bit of a gap there as well. So that's where it's come from. But also, whenever we speak to Boothby, and he's been in this position before, we've seen that he is the master of managing pace. He'll just do, consistent lap times at the pace he needs to do to keep this race in the bag. But he's not immune to making mistakes. We've seen that before. So it's not a done deal, but it looks very, very good coming up to the halfway point that George Boothby does have the best part of 5 seconds of a gap over the rest of the field here.
Exactly. So we saw Statsenko and Duvalar also pitting in there. Castorino, the highest to have stopped right now, but like we keep saying, it's not usually the ideal strategy to be pitting early like this. We're expecting them to try and wait until later on, as we watch Bischoff, also having finished his pit stop, is trying to chase down Castorino, but he's lost about 7 seconds since earlier in the race due to all the different squabbles he's been stuck in. Razier, in the meantime, is just behind Sherritt, but also ahead of Gamble, who we know is probably fed up with being pushed around, so he's not one that I would want to get in the way of.
Oh, and a drive-through penalty for Cody Sherritt just coming through there. That'll be for track limits, so that will put him well down the order. Remember, that's not a time penalty. That car will have to stop within the next 3 laps, or it'll be disqualified from the race, as we're watching Tommy Razier here. So again, Sherritt's going to have to give that position up there, as we see one of the cars just in front there. I think that is a lapped car that's in front of him. That is the 112. That is there as George Boothby comes into pit lane. Masik Malinowski, excuse me. And, well, that's a bit interesting. So Honzik has absolutely caught up. Obviously rolled off the brakes much later there, as we see Samir Foch and Albin Manson into pit lane as well.
Gamble going to try and get side by side, but he's on the outside again in the same spot that he got pushed off earlier. No, excuse me, this is a different corner. This is up towards Tremonto. But regardless, he's still feeling fierce, forcing him to go to the inside. Razier going to have to play defense here. Can Gamble maybe use that cutback, or is he once again going to try the outside line? He switches back on him. Can't find that inside as defensive goes Razier.
Yeah, he does, but he's already got past one of them. Remember when we left him last, he was behind both of those Genisus Risk cars. A little bit of a bump there from Henrik Gamble onto the McLaren in front of Tommy Razier, and I think that's just a little bit unfortunate there. He was trying to make a move there, couldn't quite make that happen there, as you've got Valentin Barrier just behind us. There goes Cody Sherritt for his drive-through penalty. So there we go. That we saw that come up a little while ago. We did say that car was going to have to go in, so that takes him out of the battle there with Tommy Razier and Henrik Gamble as well. That's definitely not going to be the last car, as we see Tariq Adam and George Boothby into pit lane. But track limits are so easily abused here, and I think that it's going to be the easiest way to get yourself a penalty. You only get 3 lives here in terms of warnings, and then it's a trip down pit lane.
Exactly. So it's black and white, and once you hit that 4th one, then unfortunately everybody's in the same boat. You got to go serve that one, or else you're going to get thrown out of the race. So here's Castorino. There's Boothby. Yeah, what's going to happen between the pair of them once he finishes his pit stop and gets going? There, he's off the jacks on his way. Oh, he's going to be way ahead.
Well, we were talking about boats, and we cut to Amadeo Castorino in the Boatley, but that thing is doing a grand job there. It's so close to your race leader, George Boothby. And you know, I do miss, given that we've got the Aston Martins, but we don't have the Bentleys out there anymore. Because for me, this is the spiritual successor. It's the next. I always feel it's like the next biggest one out there. It's the closest thing we've got to the Bentley Continental that we have in the GT3. So that inherits the name, I think, for me with the Boatley. As we cut back to Marco Bischoff, chasing down the Porsche, the 992 car of Masik Malinowski. We've got 27 minutes left to go in the 7th round of the Genisus Risk Kaizen Championship. Season 3 here is about to get to the business end here, as we're back with Zach Doran, and that is Alexander Mayatsin. It's the battle for 13th and 14th position as the BMW tries to go around the outside. A little bit of nudging there, a little bit of contact, and I think the BMW might be rolling off the brakes a little bit earlier here, and if only I could have predicted that was going to happen there between the two of them. It's getting slightly aggressive here. Mayatsin is, I think, going to send Doran off into the gravel like a cue ball. Certainly there's a lot of aggression going on between these two here, and a lot of light flashing. this is the thing as well. I love it. It's like they're fighting for 13th and 14th position, but they're absolutely knocking lumps out of each other here as well.
I feel like maybe they've spent a little bit too much time in Italy here because, yeah, this is seriously aggressive driving. I half expect to see gesticulating hands coming out the windows now.
You're not wrong there. That's exactly what I was thinking, actually. With yeah, I think hand gestures is the only way we can actually say that on here. We know exactly what we mean, and it's those hand gestures and some rather tasty language, I think, as well. As Christian deploys the next car to get absolutely smacked around the face with drive-through penalty for track limits. So that 2-1-3 car in 22nd place, that is going to drop down the order and very likely will just remain within the top 30 as we see Cody Sherritt after his drive-through penalty trying to recover it as well. He has got a Aston Martin up the inside there of Louis Alexander, and then you've also got, I believe that was Radke, and just making his way up as well. So yeah, this is a little bit awkward right now as that Aston Martin tries to cut back in, but Cody Sherritt's never ever going to let that one happen as Luke Addison is into pit lane and it looks like has retired from the race as we go back up with Mikhail Statsenko chasing down Amadeo Casarino. So Casarino now under all sorts of pressure. That Ferrari wasn't anywhere close to the Aston Martin coming out of the pit lane, but now the gap completely closed up here, and this Ferrari wants to take P2 right now here.
Yeah, very interesting how they I guess it's mostly down to the in and out laps because I'm pretty sure the pit stop time should be relatively similar between them. But Statsenko on the charge, and after what we saw out of him last time out at the at Bathurst, I have a feeling he wants to try and follow up that performance and is pushing hard on Casarino. Now the question is, can he squeeze blood from this stone?
Well, I think we are literally about to find that one out. The world's widest Aston Martin right now. It looks like that thing struggling for traction out of the corners. That's one thing we've noticed with the Astons, is that they are a little bit tail happy on corner exit here. You can see just there, again, a little wiggle there as it's trying desperately to get the traction down. The problem with it is when you're being put under pressure by the Ferrari behind you of Mikhail Statsenko, you know how fast that driver is. You know he's just waiting for any opportunity to slide that car up on the inside here as he's late on the brakes, but the Aston goes to cover it off immediately. But again, the intention is there from Mikhail Statsenko. He is poised like a cobra, just waiting to pounce right now at this late stage of the race. We're coming up to 23 minutes left to go in the race here. It's still George Boothby by around about, 5 seconds to the good for Amadeo Casarino. You've then got Mikhail Statsenko. That is your top three just now. And again, it's all about those championship points here, Joe.
Yeah, the thing that impresses me about Statsenko is how close he's been willing to stay behind that car. He's dropped off a little bit now, of course, that I talk about it, but you saw him into the last few corners, into Caro. It looked like he was unafraid of sticking to that rear bumper and knowing exactly where to place the car.
I think the other thing as well is that there'll be a certain amount of tyre management in this as well, because this is such a high-speed circuit here. Very easy to overcook the tyres, especially if you've got the tyre pressures maybe in a different place than you would normally have them here, as we see Cody Sherritt onto the back of Radke trying to make this move up into P1. Sherritt has to back out of it as well. So he's the absolute master of that. Is that move through there with the likes of Valentin Barrier up there as well. It makes it so difficult to keep your tyres within that operating window if your pressures are not correct, because you can overheat your tyres, they turn to bubblegum and they just get hotter and looser as well.
Yeah, you definitely got to be careful with them, as Sherritt is going to make a very decisive move. Oh, but I think he's going to go a bit wide. Nope, he's got it. As Cody, again, showing exactly how it's done heading into Quercia, which we've seen earlier today, is not as easy as drivers anticipate to try and get the passes done.
Yeah, I think what actually happened there, I think that was Radke and a little bit of contact there from the back of that car, and I think they just accepted with their hands up that, yeah, they didn't really want to take that position. So Chris Radke loses out there as we see Abe Santima at Misano corner, and the less we say about that, the better. I think we'll just let him get away with that one. It's fine. He's got back on the track. Nothing to see here. Let's quickly find somebody else to look at because I don't want to draw too much attention to that. As Maciek Malinowski there with with that 5-second penalty. Now, did we talk about that? Have I just had a brain failure there? Because I don't remember actually seeing that.
No, I don't think we've mentioned that before.
Oh, there we go. It's just come through from race control there. So an incident with the number 23 on lap 6. Denial of racing room. So that is, I mean, that's a big penalty. That's going to drop Maciek down at least 2-3 positions there. And,
well, it's a warning though.
Oh, sorry, a warning. Yeah, sorry. I would. So it's not that. So what's he got? Oh, so it should be a +5, right? So it's a warning, but it's also he has got a penalty for that one. Yeah, okay. So it says it's a warning, but it does say on the sheet as well, on the penalty sheet, that it is a +5. So we'll double check on that one. But yeah, the stats are absolutely right there. As we come into the final 20 minutes, then Boothby now. Oh, actually, remember how that gap was 4.8 seconds? And now it's down to 3.2. Huh. Well, it's going back up again with George Boothby there, but is that just managing pace here, or do we think that there's some actual pace starting to slow down here?
I would put my money on him managing it, but you never know. Maybe Statsenko behind Castorino has kind of lit a fire under him and got him running a little bit harder now, and that's what's allowing him to catch up. Maybe he was managing those tires like you suggested before, but whatever the case, it has come down slightly since we last looked. Is going to check out Santema being chased by Hache.
Yeah, after that, we cut to him having that moment out of the final corner just a lap ago, and that's where Noel Hache really did start to close up quite significantly. And of course, this is Genesis Esports, Genesis Extreme versus the Genesis Esports Academy cars. So two different teams at play, of course, all under the one roof of Genesis Esports. But yeah, they like getting one over on each another every now and again. As we're back to Mikhail Statsenko chasing down Amdeo Castorino. That is I believe a lapped car that is behind him. Yeah, that's the 99. So that's Henry Meyer that is just behind him. Excuse me, no, it's not. Sorry, I was miles away there because we're actually watching Henry Gamble there just now. So yeah, that is Henry Meyer that is behind him. We were watching one thing and then we immediately cut away and I didn't even realise. So yeah, this is battle for P10 right now. As I wondered why Henry Meyer was in the scene and he's not actually a lap down yet.
Ooh. Have we mentioned that there's been a warning for Castorino as well?
Oh, no, that is a great point, actually. No, we haven't. So, a warning, yeah, great catch there. A warning given to that car. And, yeah, they're going to have to be careful with this as well, because with all of this, you know, they're going to have to really rein this in, because the stewards aren't that empathetic is the word I'm going to use on this. You know, I think that they expect the drivers to know better by this point in the season here, Joe. They've kind of used up all their excuses. Oh well, my brakes rolled off there, and there we go. The incident involving cars 992 and 23 is a 5-second penalty for the 992 for causing a collision. So that is Maciek Malinowski there, as we're still watching this battle for 10th position. Now, this has been one of the more aggressive races. Whoa. As we see a murder death kill there for Tommy Rozier. Henry Gamble does decide to wait, but there's no point in that. Absolutely no point in that at all, because the damage is done. Stewards will give him a penalty regardless of that. Yeah, that's an unfortunate incident there. As we go back to the battle for P24, Marcus Schade, you've got Trollop in there, and Christian Deploy.
Trollop from the very back of the field as well, up to 26. Still a ways to go, but has certainly made up a number of spots here, and one of our few NSXs racing for Marco Schada, just trying to hold back one of the Astons and one of our McLarens currently as he comes back onto the main straight and doing a very good job. Look at him start to kind of peel away from them here.
He's keeping an eye on the lead at the front then, George Boothby, and there you go, Castorino getting a 5-second penalty. We'll get an update on that from race control, but that's huge. That is the podium essentially gone potentially for Castorino if Tariq Adam can get a move on here. Wow, that is a huge turn of events there. And here we go, confirmation then. Cars 23 and 9. So that was Tariq Adam on lap 7. 5-second penalty to the 23. That said, that was the instant we saw ages ago on that replay of when Adam tried to go around the outside at turn 1. Castorino kept the nose in. I did say that was going to be very harsh, and well, to be fair, I mean, that car was always alongside, and Marco Bischoff now gets a drive-through penalty. Jeez, this is quite the exciting end to the rounds.
Keep your nose clean, because you can gain some major positions here just by avoiding staying out of trouble. So Statsenko, I think, going to inherit this second place. Tariq Adam looks like should probably get moved up onto the podium. Did we say it was Bischoff or Malinowski that's got this penalty coming off?
Bischoff. Bischoff's got a drive-through, so Bischoff is going to be outside the top 15, 100%. Wow. Damn, that is wild. So that's going to move up, I believe, Alexander Nyatin into the top 10. I believe that might be Alexander's best ever performance in this season. So if that is the case, very well done there. But again, we'll have to wait to see how this all pans out. And you get the feeling that this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's still 14 minutes left to go. There's plenty of time for chaos here. And for me, if I'm Mikhail Statsenko in that third place 144 car, I'm not even going to attempt to make that move on Castorino now, because you know you've got it. You know they've got a time penalty at the end of the race as well. You don't need to push it. As no way. Nyatin just absolutely sent that in from last week, as Zach Doran had very little to answer on that. But the BMW first up the inside tries to keep it in here as we go into the final corner. That BMW is going to have the advantage. The two of them get through as Henrik Gamble gets a drive-through penalty now. Great fight there from the two of them. Great respect from Zach Doran and from Alexander Nyatin. Henrik Gamble goes in for his drive-through penalty. Bischoff is going to have to go in very soon. This is a very topsy-turvy end to this race here, but brilliant little fight here from Zach Doran and from Alexander Nyatin here for this position here. You get the feeling that the BMW is stricken right now, but doing a grand job of defending this position.
Now, do we know, did Barrier get his penalty before or after his pit stop? Because if it was before, I assume he's already served it. And if that's the case, he's still sitting in the top 10 and probably going to be gaining a few from everybody else's penalties now. This is kind of impressive, the way that Valentin has been able to really pull the rabbit out of the hat on what I thought would have been a pretty bad race, getting that penalty.
Yeah, he has served that penalty. The only other caveat to that is Stewart's currently working their way through a ton of penalties right now. Is well, you can ignore my advice then on that one, because remember I was saying if I was Statsenko, I'd be wanting to just hold back off of that Aston Martin, but he's absolutely having none of it, because Castorino, with that 5-second time penalty that's going to be taken at the end of the race, you can see Marco Bischoff finally coming in for his drive-through penalty here. This is going to drop Castorino to around about 4th place, I believe. Statsenko is like, I want that position now. I'm not waiting until the end of the race here. I want to get that 2nd place done and dusted now.
Yeah, if I was Statsenko, I'm with you. He doesn't need a Senna versus Mansell moment in Portugal those many years ago, where you don't need to fight that car. So why do that? Just let it kind of peel off to the side or just hover behind it, knowing that you're going to inherit it. As there's Bischoff having served his and falls down to what looks like 16th place after all is said and done.
It's a little bit worse than that. I think actually it's 18th position, because that's Christian Fenter behind him from 5th place to 18th in the blink of an eye. That's a stomach punch for Marco Bischoff in this late stage of the race. Of course, there's very little you can do to regain back from that. As Jonathan Clifford sends it up the inside, that is a late manoeuvre, and to be fair, he was given the room there from Tobias Milberg, who didn't want to cause any collision, didn't want to cause any chaos there, and the two of them again deciding to swap positions out. Listen, this is what you were saying about earlier, Joe, is that awareness, that ability to just know when to fight and know when to just back off and just say, yeah, fine, you want it, you take it. I'm not going to destroy my race over this right now.
Yeah, the best drivers aren't just the fastest out there. They're the thinking drivers. They can really take in all the information and figure out what is best to do in that situation. And then, of course, execute on it is part of it. But you can't just be 100% of the time. You've got to try and know, I guess to go for an American phrase, you got to know when to fold them.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely spot on. It really, really is a case of you just need to know when to say enough is enough. It's that whole thing of biting your nose off to spite your face, and the whole thing of like just. It's so difficult, because it's like, as a race driver, yes, you want to take position, but it's like, take a step back, think about the bigger picture here, think about the race and whole, think about your championship, for instance. Those should be enough for the driver to settle them down and maybe make them see a little bit of sense. But yeah, we wouldn't really have as fun a job if that was the case half the time. What I was thinking is the huge championship implications here for that 5-second penalty for the number 23 Aston Martin in second place. If that drops him down to 4th position, that is 9 points in the championship that he loses out of because of that 5-second penalty. And I hate to say it, but I'd hate to be at the end of the season here thinking that we come, that it counts for that 9 points. You think, oh well, that's what has separated the championship here. And on that note, just before I hand that thought over to you, Joe, we've got the driver of the day vote. So it's George Boothby, Amdale Casarino, Tariq Adam, and Alexander Nyetson.
Yeah, so one of those four are going to get voted in and get a nice little prize at the end of things, according to our fans, and we'll see how that winds up. Statsenko, I'm getting the sense, has kind of figured it out, and he hasn't been as aggressive lately. He's just kind of cruising now, especially considering Tariq is behind by about 2.5 seconds, so he's not a threat to him either. It'd be a different status, a different situation if that McLaren was putting the pressure onto the Ferrari, but because he's not, he doesn't need to hustle. As we check out Duvallard trying to catch up to Honzik.
And that is a nice little battle that's going on for 6th and 7th position. But again, it's coming up to the end of the race here. 7 minutes left to go. How badly do you want that position? How badly do you want to get those 3 points? That's all that's the difference between 6th and 7th position. Now, if you're fighting for the championship, absolutely. But conversely as well, if you're fighting to make a name for yourself, if you want to make an impact on, say, your first race of the season, then I can absolutely understand that might be a thing as well. But as I say, 7 minutes left to go in round 7 of the Genisus Risk Kaizen Championship here at Misano. Huge thank you to our partners at Coach Dave Delta and IMB Racewear for all their support during the season, and of course with our title partners at Genisus Risk, who are proud suppliers of Immersive Labs. We'll talk a little bit more about them as we round up the ends of the race here. But let's turn our attention here to George Boothby. It's been I'm touching the desk here, Joe, but it's been another absolutely stellar performance from the Ferrari driver. Out at the front of the field there, commanding the race right from the get-go. Hasn't really been put under pressure. As I said, if he gets away on those opening 2 laps, it seems to be a done deal from history.
Well, and the bigger thing here is we've seen recently that Boothby is the quicker of the two between he and Castorino, who've kind of become rivals so far this season. And Castorino taking this hit is going to hurt because he uses that consistency often to keep racking up fantastic point scores, even if he can't win the day. And again, the problem with that is as soon as you slip up, then suddenly you're playing catch up to those who are quicker than you.
That's exactly right, and it makes it so difficult to get your way back from that early position, and those early losses. It's almost impossible to actually do that. So yeah, it is very difficult indeed. We did mention though about Genisus Risk, our title partner and our sister partner here at Genesis Extreme, and the fact that they are proud suppliers of Immersive Labs. It's something that I've been doing a lot of research about, and with 5 minutes left to go in the race, kind of in the closing stages, I thought it's perfect time to tell you about Immersive Labs and what they offer. Immersive Labs are essentially a global leader in learning cybersecurity tools for businesses all around the world, both small and large. And what they do is they offer a wide range of interactive labs and interactive learning facilities for your employees to learn about cybersecurity and how important that is in this day and age. We're always hearing on the news and always hearing on blogs and on Twitter and social media about the latest website to be breached, and how thousands, hundreds of thousands or millions of people are having their account details compromised and shared all over the web. And basically they share with businesses ways in which you can protect yourself from that sort of stuff happening, to stop the bad guys getting in and to help protect yourself as well. You can check out more by heading over to immersivelabs.com. That's immersivelabs.com. Very valuable information, not just if you own a business, or even if you're an employee, even if you're self-employed or just a contractor or whatever. Absolutely crucial data for this day and age. So that's immersivelabs.com. Check them out and see what they have to offer. As we see Marco Bischoff up the inside with a beautiful time move there from Noel Hatche. Nobody gave him the memo that it's 3 3/4 minutes left to go in the race, and that you can kind of calm down a little bit here.
Oh, I think he got the memo. As soon as he copped that penalty and suddenly had to play makeup here. So that's why you're seeing him make these moves, because he's got to try and make the best of this now, and very quickly. As Gamble back here down in 23rd now has Radke in front of him, still sporting the war wounds on the right-hand side of that McLaren.
Gamble does want to get this position from Chris Radke. 26 versus the 15, so Ferrari versus the McLaren. But your race leader is coming down towards the final corner to make it just 2 laps to go. So this will be the penultimate lap, I believe. Yes, it will be the penultimate lap that we're starting just now for George Boothby. So we'll have one more after this one. So again, with Castorino and this fight with Statsenko, I think you're right. I think just applying pressure as much as he possibly can, but not actually wanting to force the issue too much.
Yep. Yeah, he knows that he's going to inherit this position based on the penalty that somebody's told him, because it's definitely a different style of racing him, a different body language of the car ever since he had those first initial attempts to try and overtake Tariq Adam. To his credit, has he caught, it was 2.5 seconds, wasn't it, before? And now it's down to 1.8. So he's reeling him in a bit, but it's probably going to be too little too late.
Yeah, and it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because you really do want to try, but sometimes it's just, it's either way. I think it's going to get on the podium for Tariq Adam. Statsenko is going to get second place, and Castorino is going to get bumped down to 4th position just now. Maciej Malinowski looks like, I think, is going to hold on to that 5th position. He is just over 5 seconds ahead of Jaroslav Honzig as your race leader now. George Boothby coming down into Misano corner for the penultimate time to start your final lap of the race, as we see Alexander Knighton fighting still with Zach Dorn, tooth and nail. That is Albin Manson and Samir Foch, you can see just in the background. So these two still fighting tooth and nail just now. And I get the feeling that nothing is going to give between these four drivers. Epic battle here, but we are on our final lap of the race here, Joe, and that is Albin Manson trying to take advantage. Oh, and Alexander Knighton getting a 5-second penalty. We kind of knew that was gonna be happening there. It was getting a little bit too rough and tumble there, but here we go with George Boothby on his final lap of the race.
And Knighton has, I don't think, had a single bit of calm this entire race. He's been in a battle every time we've turned the cameras to him, so that's a bit of a shame that it's going to end on that note as we watch the foot cam here of Boothby. Let's see how smooth he is.
Normally you have to pay extra for that on Twitch.
Are they allowing that now?
Cam? Well, it's I think it's, hang on, it's the 26th week of the year and it's a full moon, so I think the Twitch TOS has just changed to allow that. So yeah, it's I just want to allow a little bit of silence. It starts with the feet cam, then it'll be ASMR cams in the inside cockpit, I'm telling you. But either way, your race leader coming through the final two corners here on the run down to Misano corner. It has been an exemplary drive here for George Boothby, from lights to flag. Absolutely beautiful run there. George Boothby takes the win here for round 7 of the Genisus Risk Kaizen Championship here at Misano. Season 3 ends with a change in the leader at the top of the championship. George Boothby will jump up to the top. Amadeo Casarino will cross the line in second place, but will immediately be bumped down as Mikhail Satsenko takes third. Tariq Adam with a fantastic fourth place there. Maciek Malinowski in fifth. Jaroslav Honzik in sixth position. You've then got Philippe Duvlar in seventh. Valentin Barry will finish in eighth position. Zach Doran, after that epic fight with Alexander Knighton, finishes ninth, and then Knighton finishes in 10th, but again he'll be bumped down, I believe, to about 14th or 13th position there. So a fantastic fight all the way through the field here as the drivers finishing across the line. And regardless, even if you're outside the top 10, I think a very hard fought race there.
Yeah, I feel for Bischoff because that was definitely not the result I think that his speed merited, but you got to keep it clean out there as Gamble's going to cross the line in looks to be about 21st position, and we'll wait for the rest of that to wrap up so we can get those penalties figured out.
Yeah, fantastic effort there though, but there we go. Penalties and drive-throughs would be the order usual, but a huge thank you to everyone for watching. Remember, the driver of the day vote is still on just now. That'll be closing very shortly. Let us know who you think is your driver of the day, and give us your vote for that one. Votes are coming in thick and fast on that. Again, you know, with the fact that Tariq Adam leading that just now, Joe, getting that third place, I think he'll be absolutely delighted with that, given how hard he fought.
Oh, 100%. And Tariq Adam kind of got shoved around earlier on, remember? So for him to wind up where he did is just a great testament for his never say die attitude on this one. So glad to see the drivers stick at it and try to get the good results and get to spray some champagne today.
Yeah, certainly. We've got a couple of drivers coming in, so we'll mix things up. We'll let Joe, you have a chat to our race winner, George Boothby, who's here with us just now.
Indeed, George, you had a little bit of a challenge at the very beginning of the race. After that, it looked like it was under your control. Were you managing pace up there for the rest of the race, or were you flat out?
Mr. Boothby's on mute. He's obviously too busy to have a chat with us. So we'll, in a minute, we'll try and get him if he's available. I think he's probably disconnected his microphone because he's been punching the air with celebration. Because normally that's what happens, unfortunately, when you're on that. But We'll let him go for just now. And in fact, what we could try and do as well, we're trying to sort him out. I would imagine that he's busy getting his headset sorted out. We do have as well Tariq Adam, who is in. So Tariq will hopefully get you off mute and see if you're there. There we go, Tariq. Congratulations. I think we're going to say that you got P3 after that 5-second penalty for our second place driver there. So a damn hard fight tonight.
Yeah, thank you. It was super tough. Just surviving lap 1, I obviously got a bit lucky there. They managed to make a few positions and just kept up with the guys in front. So I was quite happy with that.
Now, just before the pit stops as well, there was a moment where there was like a 6-car fight for second position there, and you were really looking forward to that. But obviously, you finished over the line in 4th position. Did it make it a little bit easier seeing that 5-second penalty coming up for second place?
Yeah, definitely. Once I kind of pitted a bit later than the other 2 guys, so I lost the slipstream because they got the undercut. I was trying to get the overcut to have fresher tires in the end, but then losing the slipstream made it super difficult to catch up again. So once I saw that 5-second, I knew just try and keep in that gap, and that's what we did.
And obviously, by far your best result of the season, 2 10th places were the best ones so far with those 2 drop rounds here. So a healthy addition to points here, but it must be a nice little confidence boost as well going into the second half of the season.
No, definitely. First few races haven't been great, but once I got in the car today and did the first few laps, I could already feel that it was feeling quite good. So quite confident getting into quali. Wasn't happy with the quali result because I kind of messed up the last corner, but I guess everyone has more in the laps. So it was pretty good.
And then finally, you got the driver of the day vote as well. So obviously, the crowd at home seeing the effort that you put in there, that's a nice little cherry on top.
Yeah, it's awesome. Thanks.
Awesome stuff. Well, anybody you want to say thank you to or give a shout out to at all, Tariq?
Yeah, my teammates, Genesis Esports, of course, Gareth from Genisus Risk, and my parents for watching.
Awesome stuff. Well, listen, congratulations. Well done on 3rd place. And we'll see you next week out.
Awesome, thanks.
Awesome stuff. There we go. Tariq, Adam, as always, a joy to chat with. Let's go reverse order then. We'll leave the best to last. Let's bring in Mikhail Statsenko. And Joe, I'll let you have it from here.
Mikhail, you wound up second on the timing sheet, even though you finished 3rd on the track. Talk to us about after that. When did you find out, or did you find out there was a penalty for Castorino? And did that kind of change you into let's just wait behind him mode?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really happy to finish P2 after starting P6 on Misano because it's really difficult to overtake here. I found out, I guess, just after he got the penalty. I had the notification pop up, and I just went into chill mode. Unless I was thinking I will chill behind him, unless he'll slow me down for the guys behind us to catch me, for Adam to catch me. So I would have had to overtake him or try to force a move if he would slow down too much, but he wasn't that slow in the end, and I just chilled behind him.
You talked about that it was tough to pass here, and we saw a number of drivers try to get creative, some of them using that final hairpin in Dakaro to try and slide up the inside. Where did you find it was best to try and get those passes, or where did you like doing it?
I'd say I didn't get an opportunity to pass myself on the track because I gained positions from people getting into incidents. But compared to McLaren, Ferrari was faster in the fast right-hander beginning of sector 3 and the hairpin. So you would try to get an advantage into the hairpin maybe, but it's really risky, as you said. And then maybe the end of sector 1, that right-hander, beginning of sector 1, the right-left, those places are the most common to overtake. But since Aston has a really good straight line, it's really hard to get close.
Yeah, it did seem like that car was just kind of easily keeping you behind with the pace that he had here today. Heading off next time out, trying to remember actually where we were for next week. I had lost that in my notes. But how do you feel Donington. There we go. Thank you to our producer. Donington Park next time. Another track kind of known for track position being very important. How are you feeling heading over there?
Honestly, not too comfortable because it's the same as Misano to me. It's not my best track, but Misano ended up lucky for me. I ended up quite lucky because of the battling, so I'll try to stay clean and do my best.
Well, excellent job out there. Very measured and smart race to come home P2.
Thank you.
Mikhail Statsenko finishing in second today. Running behind the man that took another win, it's going to be George Boothby. We'll see if we've got him here this time. George,
hello,
you have a
hello.
copy? There he is. George, our producer actually wants to know, what were you doing when we pulled you in last time?
Nothing. I was extremely busy after the race, doing things. I'm here now.
All right. So that awkwardness aside, I was asking, did you feel like you had control of this race, or were you pushing flat out once you got up into the lead?
Yeah, I was lucky that Mache was in P2 because he's my teammate, and I thought as long as I can get out of turn 1 ahead of him, then maybe he won't be too harsh on me, and we can work together. But he struggled with Castorino, and they had a fight, so it just meant quite early on in the race I had that gap. So it was just about managing the pace, I guess. I feel like I could have pushed maybe a little bit harder here and there, but this is one of those tracks where it's so easy to get a drive-through penalty for track limits. And I almost got one myself, and I wasn't even pushing 100%, so it's brutal. But I just wanted to manage the race, and that's what I was able to do, and then I was able to bring it home. So really, really happy with that race. I feel like it's been a while since I've had a race where I've been able to just drive away a bit. So yeah, feels good.
You answered what was going to be my other question about the off tracks and how difficult it is here. I mean, were you running at kind of 99%? Were you leaving a little bit on the table because of that?
Yeah. When you are absolutely in the zone, maybe when you're really hunting someone down, you can go 100% and be on the limit and be fine. But it's so hard to be able to do that at this track. This is just one of those tracks where, again, warnings are so easy to get. Some corners give you 2 warnings instead of 1. It's really brutal. So yeah, to run 100% here is not wise, to be honest. But yeah, 95, that's sort of where I was at, where it's a little bit on the table just in case, but I didn't need to dive into that.
Well, will you need to dive into it for the rest of the season? Because Castorino, being kind of your main rival here, it seems, points-wise, had a bit of not a horrible day, but a worse day than he could have wanted to try and keep you in check. But it's starting to feel like you've got the speed and he's got the consistency. Does that sound fair?
Yeah, I've had not a great start to this season in comparison to the other Genesis seasons. Last season was really good for me. I had a really, really good season then, just throughout, very consistent. But yeah, I haven't had the consistency, so I'm trying to bring it back. Say not a great start, but yeah, it's. I feel like it's coming back my way. As long as I have a good few next rounds, I don't have to win. Just as long as I'm up there, I reckon I'm in for a shout.
Well, I like that confidence, and it certainly showed today out on the track, winning by about 3 to 4 seconds up there. Congratulations, George.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
That was George Boothby, our winner. David, back to you.
Yep, there we go. Thank you very much for all of that. So let's get on with our wheels that we've got to give away tonight. We've got a viewer participation wheel that we'll be doing, and a driver participation coming up in just a couple of minutes' time as well. It's like a less glamorous Wheel of Fortune, basically, where you could win a $10 Steam voucher just for taking part in chat. Entries are closed, so if you are spamming Italy into the YouTube chat, we'll absolutely encourage it because it helps our engagement figures anyway, but it won't count towards the giveaway. But let's do the driver participation prize first. That's a big wheel. Great to see many names on there. So let's spin the wheel and see where we end up. Who wins the driver participation prize for this week? And it is a very, very warm welcome to Philippe Duvlar. So congratulations there to Duvlar for winning this week's driver participation prize. Well done there. So next up will be the viewer participation prize. That's the one for the $10 Steam voucher. I guess that we're going to have quite a few drivers on there as usual. The ones that had some moments through the race, and some cheeky ones as well that do decide to have a little go as we have a look at the wonderful track views here around here at Misano. I had no idea there was a football pitch there, as well as a full-size athletic track just on the outskirts of the circuit. I've never really noticed that before. I wouldn't mind having a shot on that on the football pitch rather than the actual athletics track. Right, let's have a look at our our viewer participation prizes. Right, looks like we've got about 15 people in there. I'm sure that's
Santima in there. So there's one. I'm looking at the others.
Yeah. That's okay. I'll give two. Yeah, we can take two. We can take two. Right, let's spin the wheel and see who wins that $10 Steam voucher. And no,
it is.
Come on now. Come on. Abe Santima, right, okay, we'll allow it, technically, right, okay. Well, there we go, that brings to a close, ladies and gentlemen, round 7 of the Genisus Risk Kaizen Championship here for Season 3. Let's have a quick look at the calendar again, because next week we are off to Donington Park. I can't believe we're already at the end of May. And then we are off to Monza, Spa, Watkins Glen and Nordschleife. And Monza is actually going to be a special one because I'll be actually commentating on that live from South Africa. So that'll be a little bit of a strange affair. But either way, that's what's still to come over the next couple of weeks. But a fantastic round here. Joe, you've got the feeling that this has been a pivotal round for the championship with Boothby now going on top.
100%. I think this is the one where you look at it as a bit of a turning point, especially Castorino's season, which has been going extremely well for him up until this stage. So I think he's going to have to regroup and find something special to catch George.
Well, that is what we are going to wait and see over the next 4 rounds, ladies and gentlemen. All that's left to do is to thank the broadcast team behind the scenes of Daniel Costello and the commentary booth. Joining myself, David Christie, here has been the wonderful Joe Peake. A huge thank you to yourselves out there at home for watching us here. Remember to like and subscribe the video here on the Genesis Extreme YouTube channel. We'll be back same time next week for more action here for round 8 of the Genisus Risk Kaizen Championship as we head to Donington Park as the season draws to a close. Until next time, have a wonderful week, and we'll see you very, very soon. The engines roar in the background, the sun begins to set, the green flag flies, and we are racing here in very, very sketchy indeed contact, and there goes Valentin Barrier. Oh, the leader's lost it! Noah Ader loses it into the gravel at the final corner, loses the lead. Amazing bit of work there from Luke Addison.
The inside we have three abreast heading into Brual.
It's been lights to flag victory for George Boothby. He's done everything that's been required. It's looked so bloody easy yet again.